The sky had spoken. The earth had trembled. Dreams had warned of what was to come. Yet still the city hesitated, its people frozen in the mundane routines of their lives. Because listening, truly listening, is so much harder than simply ignoring the signs that flicker at the edge of your vision. On the seventh night after the signs first appeared, something shifted. In the heart of the city hall, the Mirror of Fates, a revered and ancient artifact, began to change. Without anyone touching it, without even a gentle breeze to stir the air, it started to glow. At first, it was a faint, ethereal light, but it quickly intensified, pulsing with a deep, resonant hum. The sound filled the grand hall, a low-frequency vibration that seemed to seep into the very stones of the building. The walls began to vibrate, and the tall, stained-glass windows rattled in their frames, as if shaken by an unseen force. Panic began to ripple through the city streets. People rushed from their homes, their faces etched with confusion and a growing sense of dread. Guards, their armor clanking in the sudden chaos, ran toward the city hall, drawn by the strange light and sound. But when they arrived, they found someone already there, standing before the glowing artifact. The mirror bearer, the designated guardian of this sacred object, stood perfectly still, her expression unreadable, as if she had been waiting for this very moment. Suddenly, with a sound like tearing fabric, magnified 1,000 times, the mirror cracked. A web of fissures spread across its once perfect surface. Blinding light burst outward, streaking through the hall like lightning trapped in a bottle. And then a voice echoed. It wasn't loud, not in the way thunder is loud, but it was powerful, carrying a weight that commanded absolute attention. It resonated through the hall and seemed to travel beyond it, into the very minds of everyone in the city. "You were shown to futures," the voice declared, its tone patient yet firm. "Not for you to admire, but for you to choose." The crowd that had gathered outside froze, their fearful murmurs silenced in an instant. The voice continued, its words sinking deep into their souls. "But you were given time. This was not a gift of comfort, but a period for decision. A wave of understanding and shame washed over the people. Some dropped to their knees right there in the street, their hands clasped together. You were warned," the voice concluded, its final words resonating with a profound sadness. This was not a threat. Tears began to fall freely down the faces of those who listened, the salt stinging their cheeks. The voice spoke again, its message now sharp and clear. One path demands humility. It asks you to let go of what you think you know, to trust in something greater than your own certainty. The other path feeds your pride. It allows you to believe you are untouchable, that the rules of consequence do not apply to you. But know this, the time for choice is ending. Just then, the city's rulers arrived, their procession a flurry of panicked motion and shouted orders. The Chancellor, his face pale and his robes flying behind him, pointed a trembling finger at the glowing, cracked mirror. "Silence, this thing." He shouted to his guards, "Cover it. Do something." But it was far too late. His authority was meaningless in the face of this power. The mirror, as if in response to the Chancellor's arrogance, flared with one final vivid vision. It showed two cities, side by side, shimmering in the ethereal light. One was a place of breathtaking beauty, full of radiant light, lush gardens overflowing with life, and the unmistakable, joyous sound of children's laughter echoing through clean, bright streets. The other city was its desolate twin, a place of ruins, silent and broken, its structures skeletal against a darkened sky. There was no life, no sound, only the crushing weight of absence. The light from the mirror faded, leaving behind only the cracked, dark glass. The mirror-bearer slowly turned away from it to face the people and the rulers. Her voice was quiet, yet it carried across the stunned silence of the square. "This is your last moment." She paused, letting the weight of her words settle. "Not tomorrow." Another long, heavy pause. "Not later." The silence stretched, thick with unspoken fear. "Now." That single word fractured the city's soul. The fragile unity of denial shattered, replaced by a storm of emotion. Families argued, their love for one another strained by opposing beliefs. Friends who had known each other for years turned their backs on one another, separated by the chasm that had just opened between them. Some people, their faces grim with determination, rushed home to pack their most precious belongings, preparing to leave the city behind forever. Others stood by and mocked them, their laughter sharp and brittle, a desperate shield against their own fear. Some fell to their knees in fervent prayer, while others simply laughed, a hollow manic sound that echoed the city's own breaking point. That night, no one slept. People climbed to their rooftops, their silhouettes stark against the twilight sky. They looked up, watching, waiting for a sign, for a confirmation of their choice. In the profound stillness, the collective sound of heartbeats seemed louder than distant thunder, a frantic drumbeat counting down the final seconds. The mirror-bearer stood alone on the steps of the city hall, looking out at the divided city. She whispered softly, her words carried away by the night air, meant for no one and for everyone. When the warning ends, she paused, her gaze distant. Consequence begins, and deep beneath the city, far below the foundations of pride and stone, the ground cracked. It was a slow, silent fissure, unseen and unheard by the people on the rooftops above. A quiet beginning to a deafening end. What happens next depends entirely on the choice that has just been made. Pride or humility, ruin or renewal. The story isn't over. It's just beginning. Thank you for watching. If this story resonated with you, consider subscribing for more tales that explore the choices that define us.